And welcome back to another episode of Double Dunk Podcast. My name is Brendan D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. You can also rate the podcast and review the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. It would also be greatly appreciated. Really cool episode coming for you today. We're talking strictly Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to dive into some running backs that we think the Eagles could be interested in the 2023 NFL Draft. No one else to do it than my man, my friend, looking good, Thomas Petersen. What's going on?
Thanks, Brendan. 2 weeks to the draft.
We're getting there, man. I'm pretty much ready.
Yeah, I was about to say, are you ready for it?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've watched everyone I need to watch.
What's your overall take on the draft at this point?
It's a bad draft class.
Yeah. I think teams are probably going to be very selective on the top guys that they want. And if they can't get that value, I think we're going to see a lot of dealing.
Mm-hmm. I'm having a hard time falling in love with guys this year compared to other years.
Yeah, I think I'm at the point where I'm falling in love with a lot of these, I don't want to say mid tier, but late first, early second round. I think that is a stacked end of the draft, especially on the D-line class. But it's also it just feels really skewed in the draft positions. You and I, we went back and forth a little bit. I was watching linebackers the other day, and I literally couldn't identify one player I would draft. And then I watched Drew Sanders. I'm like, I guess he has some pass rush ability. And that was rough. And then running back is a bright spot, and I'm excited we're going to get into that today.
Running backs is kind of usually I love the wide receiver position in draft classes. I think I've said that before. Running backs is this year. There's a lot of value, in my opinion, in the running back position here. And it kind of meshes nicely with the Eagles because they need running backs.
They can improve the offense at the running back position.
Mm-hmm. So the way I look at it right now is if the Eagles want to improve the offense day one, okay, and they want to get better from last year, which is tough to do. They had a top 3 offense last year. The best way for the Eagles to get better on offense is drafting a running back on day 1, day 2, attacking kind of that mid-tier range for running backs instead of wide receiver or tight end. Just because I'm having a hard time finding targets available for these wide receivers or tight ends that they might draft. The Quez Watkins position, yes, you would like to upgrade, but how many targets is this guy going to get? The Eagles are kind of a 3-man target team with Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith, and A.J. Brown. So the one position that is open is running back, right? You have Rashad Penny there, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. I think if you can drop a top-tier running back in that room, this offense has a chance to get better from last year. And I think that's the way to go. And I think the Eagles are probably going to think the same way. Yeah,
I think you're definitely right. And so when you're looking at the running backs, you want a guy who can be a weapon. So if they're going to be, if we're going to hear a running back called in the first 2 rounds here, it's because they can be more than just a running back. Mm-hmm. It's because you're looking at a guy and saying they could replace some of the Quez Watkins type production of the offense. Zach Pascal's not here. We don't know what it's looking like behind that. So either you're replacing a Quez Watkins and his production, Quez Watkins kind of get bumped down to a Zach Pascal role of what he was last year. So, yeah, that's important to keep in mind when we're going through these names here.
So we're not going to touch on Bijan Robinson on this episode, full disclosure. Is there anything else you want on Bijan to get off your chest? We've touched on him already in previous episodes. He's awesome, great player. Had a ton of fun watching him. We just both don't think it's going to happen at 10, and it could happen in a trade down situation. But I don't think there's anything else really to dissect on Bijan Robinson.
No. They don't ever draft running backs in the first round, let alone that high. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason they should start doing it now because Bijan is there. I don't think. That could be the surprise of the draft here. It could be the A.J. Brown trade of this draft that they go ahead and actually pick a running back that high, but I really doubt it. So, yeah, if they draft Bijan, we'll do an episode exclusively on Bijan Robinson.
Quick last more Eagles draft thing I want to get off my chest. I think the cornerbacks are the best players, and it kind of sucks. It doesn't suck, but it sucks because for the Eagles, because you don't really see a pathway for them to play right away. At 10, in my opinion, I think the best options if it's Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez right now at 10. Does that make sense? I think they're the 2 best players. I think maybe
I would draft one of them at 10. I wouldn't care.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's hard to find like an outlet for them to play right away. And we've kind of had the conversation where like we want a player to see the field if they do draft them. But they've been so lucky with health wise at the cornerback position the last 2 years. Steven, I was looking this up because I was curious. Steven Nelson and Darius Slay started all 17 games in 2021. And then the next year, Darius Slay and James Bradbury started all 17 games in 2022. Like that is like very good like injury luck there. So they're definitely going to have to plan for that to kind of turn the opposite way. So, but it's just like it would have been nice. Let's say if like there was a pathway for Gonzalez or Witherspoon to play day one, it kind of would bring more juice to the pick. But
yeah, it would bring more juice, but also be a little bit more desperate because if that would be the case, it would be because either Darius Slay or James Bradbury wasn't here, and so it'd be really obvious that would be the guy that they'd take. Mm-hmm. Obviously, for that kind of pick to be made, you're looking at future, but also you're bringing in like both of those guys are extremely good players. So you're basically you're letting Sean Desai know at that point. Then here's another good player. Like make it work.
Yeah, for sure. You can find a way to get him on the field.
Right. Bump Maddox some like into safety some more. Have one of these guys play nickel for a little bit, or hey, even play like both Gonzalez and Witherspoon have the range to play safety.
Mm-hmm. Can mix it up, like use it as a weapon on defense, kind of thing.
Exactly, and then you have like the future prospect of it, like CJ was a weapon for the Eagles, and if one of these guys are worthy of being picked up at 10. It's because they can be a weapon for the defense.
Mm-hmm. No, agreed. It's just like I'm really having a struggling to figure out who I want at 10, and it keeps coming back to me like Gonzalez and Witherspoon just are the best players, and one of them could be available. But the Lions moving Jeff Okudah kind of makes it seem like they're going to go corner at 6.
Yeah, that kind of definitely would make sense for them. For sure.
Okay, let's touch some running backs. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 running backs that we're going to touch on right now that we think are one of them is probably going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Let's start with Jahymr Gibbs, 5'9", 199 pounds. He's 21 years old, just turned 21 a month ago from Alabama. Give me your take on Jahymr Gibbs.
So when we're using the buzzword weapon, I think Jahymr Gibbs is probably the running back in this class that fits that the best. Mm-hmm. He is as much a receiver as he is a running back, and really it all goes labeled into that. He's a freak with the ball in his hands. Like he'll make stuff happen. The way that he can move around, like the quickness that he has, he can use that in routes. He's done that terrifically. He doesn't drop the ball. He's been extremely productive as a receiver in college. Like I think he's right up there, top 10 among college running backs in yards per route run. So he's
6 in yards per route run last year.
Right, and he's a guy who he rarely fumbles. He rarely drops the ball. I don't think he had a fumble last year for Alabama.
So 0 fumbles last year. He had 1 in each of his 2 previous seasons.
There you go.
2 fumbles in 3 years. That's not something to worry about.
Right. So really his receiving ability alone makes him a day one contributor for the Eagles offense, really in a way that is like you just start licking your chops when you're looking at an RPO and a read option type offense with Jalen Hurts taking away the attention of some of those edge defenders and making linebackers stall a little bit at depth instead of declaring up to the line of scrimmage. If you give Jahymr Gibbs like 3 yards cushioning off from the linebackers with Jalen Hurts being a threat as a runner, goodbye. I mean, he's going to hit a lot of big plays because he's that electric. Like he's super fast. He's not necessarily the type of running back that makes guys miss a ton. Like he doesn't break a lot of tackles, but I think that's also a little bit more of a testament to his speed. The same with Devon Achane. We're going to get into him in a little bit. It's the same thing. Like these guys hit the top gear so fast that whenever they meet contact, usually they'll fall down because they're in such a hurry. Like they're already in speed. Whereas other players are relying more on their contact balance to make guys miss instead of really hitting that top gear to begin with. But sometimes what you'll see with these running backs is they get up to speed so fast that they're kind of like they're reading the line a little bit prematurely. Like they really want to hit that top gear immediately. They're not patient in waiting for their blocks to actually develop. And I think Jahymr is really disciplined, given that he's also coming out of Alabama. They have a really disciplined run type offense there as well.
It was a running back by committee. Like he only had 33% of the carries. So
right.
I feel like his production could have been a lot higher for the other guys that we're going to talk about because they just had more carries. Like Gibbs didn't have the same amount of opportunities as some of the other guys. Yeah.
So he had 6.1 yards per attempt, which is ridiculous. And he had almost 1,000 yards rushing. He had a ton more receiving. So, I mean, he was super productive whenever he got the ball in his hands. Yeah, I think Jahymr Gibbs makes a ton of sense from at the 30 position. He's not gonna drop for the Eagles to be able to take him in the second round.
They would have to trade up and get him in the second round. So you're either loving the guy enough where you take him at 30,
right? Or you have the fifth-year option.
Yeah, or you're getting back into the early second round. Like I think the pick range for him is like that 28 to 40 range, somewhere maybe 45. But he won't be there at pick 2 for the Eagles. Like
the thing with Jahymr Gibbs. Yeah, you're right. The thing with Jahymr Gibbs as well is that you can carry him onto the roster while not really changing anything in the running back room because you can substitute a receiver out with Jahymr Gibbs.
Yes,
like you can still bring in all these guys: Boston Scott, Rashard Penny, Kenneth Gainwell, and even the guy practice squad guy from last year. Help me out here. A guy from
Trey Sermon.
Yeah, Trey Sermon. They reportedly really like. They can keep all those guys in that rotation there, and you can throw out a receiver. Basically, you can say Zach Pascal. We're not going to need him from last year. Jahymr Gibbs is our fourth receiver in there, and then have like basically 2 running backs in the field, which Jahymr Gibbs being one of the receivers, of course. And so it wouldn't mess with the whole roster complexion. He would just be an added asset.
Yeah, like he's a guy that you can, like you said, theoretically substitute for Quez Watkins on majority of the plays. That's why I really like him just for the Eagles standpoint is he can be on, like you can have him, let's say Kenneth Gainwell, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, and Devonta Smith on the field at the same time. That is like, think about how electric that 5-minute squad is. Like that would freak defensive coordinators out all week trying to study and prepare for that. So everything you said, I agree with you. One cut, he's gone. He's so explosive. I like how he sets up his blocks really nicely too. Like he's very patient in the backfield. He'll let the blocks kind of go and then he attacks the hole. He's got great subtle movements. Like he doesn't tip his hand off very well. Like you can't really tell where he's going. It's just the one. Like, there's a couple of things that I am worried about with him. With a lot of these guys I'm going to bring up, I kind of have the same worries because it's a smaller running back class, smaller wide receiver class too. Just a lot of smaller bodies in this draft class, especially at wide receiver running back. His size is a little bit of a problem. Like he's under 200 pounds. He's only 5'9". How much contact can he really take in the NFL? He's not also the greatest pass blocker. He tries. He's not afraid.
Yeah,
but he's not great. Very good at it. So, but he's fearless at it. So that's one thing that I do like about him. He's an intriguing player. I don't know if I would take him at 30. I feel like I would want to trade back up in the second round to get him, but we'll see. Like I'm kind of curious to see how the rest of the NFL views him as well. Because I don't know, like if the rest of the league thinks he's a first round, like worth the 30th pick, right? He could be available at like 38, 39, and then you can use some of those draft picks from next year to move back up.
Do you know who's his closest pro comparison?
Hit me.
Isaiah Pacheco.
I liked me as Isaiah Pacheco.
You did. Second most comparable guy is Kenneth Walker the third.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit. He's got a little bit of Alvin Kamara to him as well. I think he's quicker than Alvin Kamara was, but he's kind of got that patience to him. Kind of looks a little bit like him as well. Another thing is too quickly, just in Dane Brugler's The Beast, he put up that he had a really rough childhood and he kind of bounced his way around and he worked his ass off to get where he is today. So kind of like that profile as well.
Yeah. See, we always get this thing. We always throw in like Pro Bowlers and stuff like that when we're comparing guys. You know who? Like he really reminded. I saw this somewhere, so don't credit me with this. Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I could see that.
Kind of the same type player, the same type runner, like really relies on hitting a hole with explosiveness. And I mean, Raheem Mostert with the 49ers was electric.
That Packers playoff game, man, he just ran wild.
He was a beast.
So do you know, I actually read this in Jimmy Kempski's article. Great. It was an article about Bijan Robinson, like how they shouldn't take him. Raheem Mostert is the only starting running back right now currently in the NFL that's over the age of 30.
Really?
Yeah, that's it.
Crazy.
It's out of all 32. That's kind of goes like, and I thought that was a great piece. Yeah, on Reddit, shout out Jimmy Kempski for that piece. It was great. He kind of
How old is Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry's like 28, 29 now.
Got to be up there. I mean, I feel like he's been in the league forever. He's 29. He just turned 29.
Yeah.
He's also on the last brink, probably.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
So that kind of just goes to show the value running back, like taking a guy higher, like you're not going to get a long lifespan out of them. So
no, but also if you're going to get a guy, is going to be contributing. I mean, you're not paying him that much. You got the 5th-year option. Like you have him for 5 years. The lifespan is about that time, probably for a guy like that. How old is Jahymr Gibbs?
Jahymr Gibbs has just turned 21. So he's born on March 20th.
I
love that age.
He's got a bunch of and his college production as well. Like he's got fresh legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like he had. So, like I said, 33% of the total carries. It was, Bill O'Brien's offense in Alabama was a running back by committee style, and he still was second on the team, or he led the team, in catches, second most by a running back in Alabama history with 44 catches. That is crazy. He was 15th in all-purpose FBS yards with 135.7, and he didn't touch the ball very often. Like this kind of goes to show that he made every touch count at Alabama. Okay, that's Jahymr Gibbs. Let's move on to a kind of a guy with a similar profile.
So where are we on Jahymr Gibbs? Thumbs up?
So I like thumbs up. I don't know if 30 kind of scares me. I'll be fully honest.
But to be honest with you, I'd rather draft him at 30 and then have the 5th-year option that I'd move up for him in the 2nd round and give extra assets to get him there, and then only on 4 years.
That's fair. It depends who they also get at 30 if they do that. Like,
True.
Let's say if I don't like the pick at 30 and they go do that, I'd be like, oh, well, we should have just taken him at 30. It's just like his size. Just like I'm worried about him staying healthy in the NFL. But you can say that with majority of players. It's just like, especially for his body build, like being under 200 pounds. But like his 4.36 speed is insane. Like he matches the eye test completely. I like the age profile, like we said. I like the player profile, like we said. So 30, I guess, is fine. I'm on the kind of the edge there.
I mean, he's bigger than Quez Watkins, and he's bigger than Quez Watkins. He's just about as fast and as sudden as twitchy. He's got a lot better hands. Like plug him in as a slot receiver. He's perfect size for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Devon Achane, come on down out of Texas A&M. He is 5'8", 188 pounds, 21 and a half years old. Hit me with your Devon Achane take.
Devon Achane is a guy who only relies on his speed.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that good of a route runner. He's not as good in the passing game as Jahymr Gibbs will be. It's not that he will be a liability at all. I think Achane is more of he's not going to come in and be the lead back for you. Like he's going to come in and be a rotational niche type player with his speed and speed only. Like he doesn't have the vision to pair with his speed that a guy like Jahymr Gibbs has. You're taking that kind of down a notch. But then again, you get top of the line speed. I mean, if you're worried about size with Jahymr Gibbs, then probably you shouldn't be looking too much at.
Yeah, like that's the thing. He's a very similar profile to Gibbs, but just even shorter, like 5'8", like I said, 188 pounds. That's tiny, man.
He's not big at all, and it shows on tape. Like he's not gonna run over anybody. It's kind of the same thing, I'd say. Like he doesn't make a living of making people miss. Like he'll hit the extra gear fast, and he'll get his extra yards with his speed.
Yeah, his vision is like a weakness in my point. Like out of all the backs we're going to talk about, I think he has the worst vision out of these guys. Like it was kind of tough to know where he wanted to go a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But I still think he's worth a 2nd round pick. 4.2 40-yard dash, which is insane. 3rd fastest at the combine, I believe. Its acceleration is off the charts. I posted a clip of a kick return he had against Alabama. Holy shit! The guy just it's like he had a jetpack. It's like you got the Mario Kart push. Like he just flew. I was blown away at that clip when I was
like when he starts and stops, it's ridiculous. Like it's super fast.
Yeah, like he can put his foot in the ground and go. He's actually not bad at running back through tackles. Like I think he's better at it than Jahymr Gibbs. I'll give him that. And he only has 2 career fumbles in his entire career. So that's that. He doesn't drop the football. That's something you want. His LSU game, his LSU game's insane. I think he had like 37 carries, 38 carries for here. I got the stats here. Yeah, 38 carries for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was his last game in Texas A&M. His last 3 games at Texas A&M, he has 475 rushing yards for 4 touchdowns, 6 yards a carry. Like, he was a workhorse at the end of the year for Texas A&M. So I get what you're saying when you're not going to have him be a full-time running back because he's
a shit pass blocker.
Yes.
Like, he's terrible. No, he's terrible. So that's going to keep him off the field on a lot of downs.
And like his receiving stats aren't crazy. Like in 2021, he had 36 catches for 196 yards. It's 5.4 yards a pop. That's not going to cut it. And even in 2021, he had 24 catches for 261 yards. So it's not like he's not. You could kind of, I guess, see like a path where he becomes some sort of receiving outlet for a team, but he's mostly probably going to do his damage in the running game. So I have Jahymr Gibbs rated higher than Devon Achane. I would rather Jahymr Gibbs on the Eagles than Devon Achane. I don't think Devon Achane is worth pick 30 whatsoever. I think you could take a look at him at pick 62. 62? Is that what the Eagles' second round pick is?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Pick 62. So I would take a look at him in there. But I think of all the guys we're going to talk about, I think Devon Achane is probably the least likely to become an Eagle.
I personally wouldn't draft Devon Achane in the second round due to his size and his pass blocking ability. Those 2 things. Mm-hmm. But he's not a good enough receiver as to where you can have him be your receiving type player on offense. So he's got to be able to pick up blitzes, and he's super small. He's shown he can't do it. I think he allowed some of the most pressures in 2022. I think he was it 10 pressures, but only in 2022? Like, it's not great. So I think he's too much of a niche player for me to spend a second round pick on him.
He also doesn't really match the Eagles' running back scheme. Like, he finished 54th in zone rushing attempts last year. The Eagles love their zone rushing scheme, so like I don't know if he really fits what they want.
Right. And also, like, when we're talking about a running back and spending a premium pick on running back, again, you want him to improve your offense. You want him to be an instant upgrade, and I don't think he is.
So Jahymr Gibbs over Devon Achane, both of us. Okay, let's talk about this. This guy is weird. I can't figure this guy out. Zach Charbonnet from UCLA. Come on down. He played under your boy Chip Kelly, Thomas. So you gotta love him. He is 200
to like
6 foot tall, 214 pounds. He is 22 years of age. He turns 23 in January, so he's a little bit older than all the other guys. I'm curious. We haven't talked about this guy at all through DMs or messages or anything, so I have not heard your take on this guy at all. Give me your Zach Charbonnet outlook.
So I think Zach Charbonnet is built to be an NFL bell cow running back. Like, okay. You always want to hit that 220 threshold when you're going in there. I mean, if we're gonna be looking at look at the rush leaders in the NFL, they did a really good job here of bringing that up on Move the Sticks podcast, with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks, and they brought up that if you just take a look at the top rushers from the last season, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, and Saquon Barkley, all those guys they hit 220 pounds or more. They have the body type to really take and deliver punishment in the NFL while being able to sustain that type of rushing. I think Zach Charbonnet is built really well for that. He's got his size in perspective. He's got a lot of ability to break tackles. Like, he'll make extra yards happen. Of course, that's going to go down when he gets to the NFL. I think he was a little bit clunky. Like, watching how he was taking on tacklers,
he is the least. I'm trying to figure out a way to say that. The least appealing eye test of all these guys.
Right. It did not look. It didn't look sexy, but it worked.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you can fault him for that. Like, he made it work for him. He averaged over 7 yards per a carry, while getting almost 200 carries in
7 yards. Yeah, 7 yards a carry last year.
Yeah, so that's insane. And I think it was somewhat similar last season. I think he had a little bit more attempts. Probably didn't break the same rush per attempt, but it was high.
2021, he had 5.7 yards per attempt. He averaged 200.
Right.
204 carries. He had more.
So he had almost 400 carries and almost 400 carries and around 6.4 4 average, like over 2 seasons.
Yeah.
He's coming into the NFL sort of banged up already, and like at least he's been used a lot in college. We haven't seen that before with Chip Kelly's offense with inflated stats. But yeah, I think he's really good after contact. He just has a knack for making big plays happen. I would worry a little. Like I wouldn't worry. I'll be wary of drafting Charbonnet high, because I think he's one of those guys that you really need to get going, and so you want to draft him into an offense where he can be the primary guy.
Yes,
Like you don't want to get
he
into
needs volume. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not. I don't think he's going to be that great of rotational type 33% running back. I would at least we saw with Miles Sanders, like a little bit of the same thing there. When, like, he was really good coming in as a rotational guy, but when he got like a ton of carries, we saw like a little bit of production go down. He got injured a lot. Yeah, I have a little. I think all the stuff are there, all the stats are there. The production, proven production is there. He makes a lot work for him. He's got he hits that weight, that size check. He's okay. He's an okay athlete for his build. I don't know, man. It's just a little bit.
There's something off. I don't know how to explain it.
You got the same thing.
I've never seen a player that I've liked less on film and liked a lot on the stat sheet. Like his stats don't match the eye test, and it's weird. Like he runs so upright. Like you feel like he needs like almost work in how he runs the football a little bit, but like he's so good after like watching him bounce off tackles, and like the stats match it up. He was 24th in yards after contact with 806 last year. He was explosive. Like he was tied for 9th in 15 plus yard carries last year. So like he has that kind of extra gear, but like it doesn't show up in the 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.53. I have never had a more difficult evaluation of a running back since I've started following a running backs NFL draft than Zach Charbonnet. I have no idea what to do with this kid. The stats are like, even here's some more stats for you. Like he had over 1,100 yards in back-to-back years and 13 touchdowns. Like he's a 3-down guy. He was first in yards, or he was first in EPA per carry in the nation last year. So he was the most efficient runner in the nation. Like that is very impressive. I don't know. There's something off.
One of his biggest comparisons athletically is Rachaad White from the Bucs. I can see that.
Yeah, and he also, like, this may be high praise, but he kind of reminds me of Arian Foster a little bit. Back in the day, he's got.
I don't think he's that smooth of a runner.
Okay, he just looks similar to him. I think Foster probably like was a little more shiftier, like you said, and smooth, but kind of reminds me of Foster a little bit.
Okay.
Would you take him? If you're the Eagles? Are you looking at
no? I don't think he's a good fit.
No,
he's not a good receiver out the backfield. He is more of a bell cow type running back. I don't see him moving the needle over Rashad Penny or even kind of Gainwell. Yeah, I wouldn't unless he falls like ridiculously far. Meaning that maybe like if he's there in the 3rd round or something like that. I don't think that. Yeah,
he's projected to go in like the 2nd, 3rd round. I could see him being there in the 3rd. The reason why I have him higher on the board for the Eagles than Devon Achane is because I think like they could fall in love with his 3-down ability and be like, he could be the future of our offense kind of thing, right? And we'll take him at round 3 if he comes up, if he's there. So that's why but like I don't know if they're going to fall in love with him.
Never do that.
Yeah, it's just like I could see them falling in love with like the 3-down potential. But I don't know. He's a funny one, man. It's a hard one to read. But I agree. I don't think he's going to go to the Eagles. I don't think they're going to love him. But I think there's a possibility in the 3rd round. Like I said, I'm just trying to think if I have anything else on him. He's not bad in pass protection.
Nope. He's got good size. He'll take on linebackers.
That 23 in January also worries me as well. I'm an ageist when it comes to the draft. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's up next? Okay, let's go to my guy. I've been waiting to talk to you about this guy for a while. Tyjae Spears from Tulane.
Sell him to me.
Come on down, baby. 5'9.5". He's 201 pounds. He's 21 years old now. He'll be 22 when the season starts. I'll lead this one off.
Too
His
late.
lateral quickness, Thomas, is off the charts. Like his quick feet, he reads the field so well. And I think we said Devon Achane had the worst vision of this class. I think Tyjae Spears has the best vision.
At least of our guys here.
All the guys, here. Bijan Robinson, I think, clears everything we're about to any of these guys. But the guys we're talking about, I think Tyjae Spears has the best vision. He reads the field so well. He had 22 touchdowns last year, which tied for the lead in the nation. Over 6 yards a carry in every season at Tulane. He's awesome in pass protection. My favorite quote, I can't wait to get this one off. He talked about protecting the quarterback and why he's so good at pass protection, why he focuses on it. And he said, "My quarterback becomes my best friend, and you have to protect your buddy." I thought that quote was brilliant. I'm all in on Tyjae Spears, man. He was the most fun I've had watching all these guys. That 5'9.5" doesn't worry me because he's got the 201-pound build. I think he could be a 3-down back. His receiving stats aren't sexy, but it's something he can do. He had 256 yards on 22 catches last year. That's 11.6 yards per reception. A lot more explosive than Devon Achane. I think this guy's it. I think if he's there at pick 64 or 62, you run to the podium and take him if you didn't take a running back in the first 2 rounds. I think he's got bell cow potential. I think he fits this offense very well. I'm all on board for Tyjae Spears.
Yeah, I think Tyjae Spears he's intriguing in he's just a really good athlete. I mean, the same thing. He's acceleration off the charts. He was explosive in all the testing that he did, like vertical, broad, all that good stuff. He was like he showed it on those testing metrics as well. That like what you see when he's running between the tackles and his ability to really cut and accelerate is right there. I think I didn't come away from his tape thinking that he had that great of vision as well. Like it wasn't something where I said, "Oh, that is great." I didn't know, like it wasn't something that was off by any means necessary. I just don't think
I love the way he followed his blocks.
I didn't. Yeah, I guess I didn't look at their blocking scheme and think, "Oh, that's what they want to do." So I don't know. Maybe it was because there was a little bit more freedom within it. Like which you often see in zone running.
Yeah, Tulane's offense was very weird. They did a lot of zone and gap run, like
so,
it was kind of in between. But he was great in the zone scheme. They didn't run a ton of it, but when he was very good at it.
Yeah, I think naturally with him, it's how much of his production is inflated due to the level of competition that he played at Tulane.
That's fair.
So that's sort of the thing. And also one other thing that I would like to see a little bit more. I would like to see more physicality in his running. Like I think he accelerated a lot and did a great job of that. But he didn't sink his pads at certain times when I really wanted him to.
Yeah, that's a weakness I have as well on here as well.
So, yeah, but I think he's. I'm not sure if I would say second round is the great way to go about it there. But again, it's
62. I'm taking him, man. Don't let him
yeah,
go by.
I can tell.
Don't let him go by. Like I think he's a great fit in this Eagles offense. I think if you have a Tyjae Spears, Rashad Penny,
I think he's definitely one of those guys as well, where like he will be perfect in a committee.
Yes,
fresh legs coming in the game, and you can coach these guys up to be more physical. Like I think he's one of those guys that'll take in that coaching.
Mm-hmm. I'm all on board, man. I think he's a really cool player. I like the profile, like the size. Like I guess you can put the 5'9.5" as a negative, but like it doesn't really affect him as much as on tape when you watch him. And like the 201 pounds is nice. He's only going to be 22 when the season starts, so that fits. Like he can pass protect. He can like I say, he can catch the ball in the backfield.
Yeah, that's the big thing with him. Like that's the big plus is his pass protection ability.
There's something about him, man. I think he was the most fun I had watching all these guys, and I think he just fits the Eagles well. And I think that 62 pick makes a ton of sense. Like I think that's a good range, a good spot for him. Like it's gonna be interesting to see how the league sees all these guys. Like we're out, like for instance, we're out on Zach Charbonnet. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that love a Zach Charbonnet. We're out on Devon Achane. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that love a Devon Achane. Like it's gonna be so like curious. I think Bijan Robinson goes the first running back, and then Jahymr Gibbs is the second running back. After that, it's kind of a free for all, right? We don't know exactly how the teams are going to look at these guys.
Yeah.
Anything else on a Tyjae Spears?
No, I think you sold it pretty well. Well, Brendan D guy for sure.
He's on my guys list. Okay, let's talk about a Tank Bigsby. Tank
Oh yeah.
Bigsby, 5'11 and a half, 210 pounds. He's 21 and a half years old. I'll pass the ball to you. Hit me with your Tank Bigsby take. Tank Bigsby take.
Right. So we talked about Zach Charbonnet and how he has the size and it looked a little bit clunky. With Tank Bigsby, he has size and it looks so smooth.
Hell yeah.
Like I really enjoy his combination of size, elusiveness, and just natural just natural suddenness in his moves. Like he looks so decisive whenever he's running around out there. And I think he's got a really unique blend of everything you're kind of looking for. Like he's not great in the receiving game. That's the probably the thing that I wanted to see a little bit more of, but I can definitely see him on the basic stuff, like coming out on the swing or angling over the middle, being able to take a ball there, make a guy miss, or at least run into them and gain whatever extra you'd need at that point. But he is so smooth in his moves, and he's got more size than a lot of these guys here.
Mhm.
He cuts unbelievably well. So if we're talking about a guy where his size puts more into that bill cow type discussion, I think Tank can also come into an offense and be a change of pace back as well, like, and can go in there and really contribute with some speed on offense as well. Um, he doesn't do anything where you go, wow. Like he didn't blow me away with anything other than just that you know what I mean? Like often you'll see these small players and they're super explosive, and you go, yeah, well, but size, all this, like this is, and then you see bigger backs like Charbonnet that has the size, but you're going, what am I really watching? Tank is just that perfect match in between those things. So I really don't think you can go wrong with a guy like that. Um, had a ton of production as well. I think he was consistent with Auburn.
Yeah, the Auburn thing I want to talk about because I think this is the most interesting aspect of him. Like, so in 2021, he had 1,104 yards, so 1,104 yards on 224 attempts, only 4.9 yards per attempt, but he was good in 2021. Like, and then 2022, Auburn's offense was awful. It was one of the worst offenses in the nation. He had only 178 attempts compared to 224 the year before, 976 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt. So he didn't pass the 1,000-yard threshold. But Auburn's offense, like I said, was awful. Like they didn't have a quarterback who could throw the football. So like the gap from 2021 to 2022 production is kind of weird. And he had the same amount of receiving yards both years.
Like the
So
Miles Murphy of the running backs.
yeah, so like his 2021 to 2022 is something that teams are definitely going to be asking about, but I think you can pinpoint it to the Auburn aspects of just how bad that offense was. But like he has some like stats behind him that kind of back up his play as well. He led the SEC with 30 with 8 carries of 30 plus yards, so he's explosive that way. Like he's very explosive with the ball in his hands. He can his jump back cuts, like he's got a really electric like jump back and go cut that I thought that I kind of saw on tape that was really fun to watch. I think he's electric. I'm on board with Tank Bigsby. I would also take a look at him at pick 62 if he was there. I think he's worth a second round pick. He's matched like he fits the profile for everything I like. Only 21 and a half years old, like I said, 210 pounds, 5'11 and a half. Like I think he's kind of got that running back stature that you kind of talked about earlier in the episode. This is a stat that's crazy. This is probably the craziest running back stat out of all of them with Tank Bigsby. So he had 976 rushing yards last year. 740 of those were after contact. Like over 80% of his yards were when he got hit and after that. Like that is baffling.
Also, Auburn's O-line wasn't great.
Sorry?
Auburn's O-line wasn't great.
Yeah, so like he was getting bumped around a lot and he was breaking tackles. Like he's a guy that can run through people. So I'm also big on Tank Bigsby. I would definitely look at him for the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are going to like him as well.
I watched him and immediately had Tyler Algier.
Yes,
in my mind.
He reminds me a lot of Tyler Algier. That's a great comp. What do you like him enough for the second round?
No.
No. Oh man, you're letting me down here.
Not a big second round running back guy with these guys. Like, there's so many of these running backs that can be contributors in one way or the other that I think it's a perfect third round spot. Like, if you're not going to go grab Jahymr Gibbs, then I think the third round is that sweet spot for it.
The thing that I'm worried about, if them waiting to the third round for this, is they're not going to get the guy that they like, because that third round, like you said, is kind of the sweet spot. And then they don't pick from the third round up until the seventh round or something like that. So
yeah,
like they're like,
I guess it kind of depends. It's the same with the tight ends. Like, how much are they going to get pushed down because there's so many of them? Like, your team's going to be waiting, or they're going to be aggressive and trying to secure one of them?
I think running backs are going to go like off the board quick in round 2. I could be wrong here.
Yeah, no. I think you're right, because the receivers suck. So somebody's got to want somebody wants to get some offensive production in there.
I think the wide receivers round 3 is where teams are going to go in round 2 running backs.
Yeah.
Like I could see Bijan Robinson, Jahymr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet, Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, Roschon Johnson, and like Devon Achane even all going before the end of round 2. Like I think there's going to be like 7 running backs in the top 70 picks, something like that. So
the second and third round is a bunch of receivers and running backs just going to go one after the other. What would our good old friend DC?
One more thing on Tank. Do you know why he's called Tank?
Because he's built like one? Or?
So his name is Cartavius Bigsby, and he was nicknamed Tank at the age of 2 years old by his dad and his aunt because he had a reckless vibe to him.
All right, moving on.
I'm just trying to give some fun facts. But I like the Tank. Like I can see Tank Bigsby being like a Eagles fans will love him. Like he's a guy that will come right in and you'll see big jerseys in the stands, and he'll be a guy that Eagles fans will kind of love.
All right.
Okay, it's time for your draft crush, man. You've tweeted about this guy.
Yeah.
You've been telling me about him and the DMs.
I said go watch it. Like, is there one guy that you want to bring on to this? And I want to bring on Chase Brown from Illinois.
Okay, let me give you his measurables. I'll give you his measurables before we go.
Hit me.
5'9.5", 209 pounds. He is 23 years old, and he's from London, Ontario, Canada, baby. Love me a Canadian. All right, Thomas, your time to shine. Hit me with Chase Brown.
That's right. He is 5'9", isn't he?
Yes, 5'9.5".
All right. So Chase Brown is. I'm actually having a hard time deciding between who has the better contact balance between Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown.
Okay.
I think it's pretty close. I think it's closer than people want to give it credit to, just simply because of the name value of Bijan Robinson at this point. I think it's been pumped up a ton. Chase is a complete running back to me. Like, I think he checks off every single thing that you want. He follows blocks extremely well. His vision is right up there. I'm not even sure if that's a zone offense that he ran in. Can you give me the pointer on that?
Let me pull that up.
Oh, yeah. He's second in zone attempts. So he had 205 zone attempts in 2022. So he basically lived in a zone offense. Fits perfectly with the Eagles. His contact balance is out of this world. I think he ranked like top 5 in missed tackles forced.
And 935 yards after contact was 11th in the nation. 83 missed tackles. That was 5th in the nation.
There you go. So that's pretty good. He's a really good pass protector. He's one of those guys as well. Like he's got the size as to where he can absolutely survive in the NFL. He's got some weight to him as well. He is out of this world explosive. Like he had 10-7 broad. He had 40 vert, 4.43 40. He's a little bit to the smaller size, not something that's dramatic. He's
210 pounds, right? Like just because you're 5'9.5" doesn't mean he's small. Like
exactly. I mean, he'll and combine that weight with his ability to both make guys miss, but also finish runs. Like he's one of those guys. A lot of these guys in this draft class, I'm looking at him. I just want to see that extra oomph, like that extra physical like finishing your runs by like you can make a spin or like a spin, and then they kind of go down. But this guy just plows forward, and it was a little bit again with Illinois in the competition that he played against. So some of his insane production is obviously a little bit inflated there, and that naturally that's going to go down. I think he is a perfect rotational back in that you're not going to miss anything. You can put him in on any down. He's going to make guys miss if he gets the ball in his hands out the backfield in the receiving game. He's a good pass protector. He doesn't drop the ball. I think he had a little bit of fumble issues. That's probably the only thing that I would be a little bit worried about. But he also had a ton of carries. So I think if you go fumble per carry, I think it kind of evens out a little bit more.
5 fumbles in 2022.
On how many carries?
But he had 329 attempts. So
there you go. So basically double the carries of most of these guys in the draft. So whenever you see guys have 2, obviously that would be the natural linear progression there with the volume. So yeah, I think he among all those guys that we've been talking about, other than Jahymr Gibbs, I think he fits the Eagles offense the best. And I think he's the most pro-ready of these guys, just given the fact how he combines his size with contact balance.
Okay, I want to ask you I want to know your opinion just on a couple weaknesses here. 23 years old, does that worry you at all?
Not when I'm putting him into this role here.
Okay, because 23 years old with 329 attempts last year kind of pushes me back a little bit.
Yeah,
but
he's going to go later because he had a red flag at the combine medically.
Yeah, he ran a 4.43 40-yard dash, so he's got some speed. 1.5 10-yard stretch, which is awesome. Like that is the 81st percentile of all players, so that's very good.
So the guy that he compares to the most, and I can see it, Breece Hall.
It's an interesting comp. I can definitely see that. Also, 1 drop last year. That's it. 240 receiving yards. He had 30.
Yeah, targets. I mean, he's not a great receiving back, but he doesn't do anything wrong. And like combined with his missed tackles forced, give him the ball in the flat. He'll make a cornerback or safety look stupid.
Where would you take my Canadian friend if you're the Eagles?
Third round. Same with all the other guys.
So what running back would you touch in the second round at pick 62?
I think a lot of them I wouldn't be mad about. I just think really it also depends on how the draft. Like if a bunch of these guys are going to be going in the second round, if your prediction is right and these guys will be flying off the board, I wouldn't mind taking one of them in the second round. But more ideally, I would prefer to have it pushed a little bit more to the third round, given how great or how deep the corner class is for the second round, the D-line class for the second round. There's some interior offensive line guys as well that could be interesting there in the second round as well. So if I'm taking a running back in the second round, I want them to be able to, like I said, they need to move the chain of how well the Eagles offense is immediately.
They need to move the Devon Achane.
Oh yeah,
my pot of the day. I agree with you though. Like if you're going to take a guy that high, you need to envision him in a wide receiver role. You need to envision him in how you're going to get this offense better.
Right.
So you're right there. Okay, there's a couple more guys.
Oh, a couple more.
A couple more we could touch on before we go. A guy that I'm starting to really like, Isreal Abanikanda. We've tried to. I think that pronunciation's right. Isreal Abanikanda. He goes by Izzy. 5'11", 216 pounds. Guess how old he is, Thomas? You want to know why I like him? He is 20 and a half years old, man.
Boom.
He is a baby. Big body, lean. I thought he was really quick with his feet when I was watching him. I liked his vision as well. He had 3 touchdowns of 65 plus yards. He led the nation in points per game last year, 11.6. He was basically Pittsburgh's whole offense last year. Pittsburgh didn't really do much else besides give him the football. In 2022, he was first team all ACC, led the ACC in rushing. I think he's going to intrigue the Eagles just because of his size and his speed.
Yes.
He ran a 4.4 40-yard dash. And like I said, he's 5'11", 216 pounds. Like that's a big boy, that can move at that size.
Like 40 or 41 vert as well. Like something stupid. Like
what was his vertical?
41.
Yeah, 41 vertical, like 1.5 10-yard split is very impressive. 10-8 broad jump. He's 7.14 3-cone. This is a guy I could see the Eagles kind of liking if they don't take a running back in the third round. I think if they, let's say they do have a fourth round pick early or whatnot, they can peek at him. He just kind of, in my opinion, just kind of matches that Howie Roseman eye test. Like we kind of like to dive inside Howie's brain. I think he's a guy that he's going to like. A couple big red flag for me though, as I'm watching him, is he doesn't do well with contact.
No,
not very much at all. So that's something that is kind of pushing me away from him. He only 45.2% of his rushing yards were after contact. That is the bottom of this class. So that's something I'm wary of. But I think like an open space, I think if he can maybe put on a little bit more weight, maybe that will help him. I don't know. But this is a guy like just the age, the profile, everything kind of matches up to me to the Eagles.
Yeah, and also he had 2 drops and 12 receptions. So
that's
like, yeah, that's not great.
But he's fun. Like
he's a project guy. Like we're talking late rounds here. We're talking trading up into the 6th or 5th or something like that.
Oh, you're going that low. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I have him graded right now in the 4th round. I think that's where
somebody could probably take a flyer on there. I think he's way too inconsistent. Like I think he is like you said, he's not great with contact. His vision is kind of like if he doesn't have a clear gap right in front of him, opening up like a highway, it can get really messy for him to decide where to go and kind of read the line. That scares me off a little bit. I think he's going to scare teams off a lot as well.
Okay, last one I guess we'll touch on. I think we spoke about him in the past. I've spoken about him on Twitter, so I didn't really want to dive too much into this. Roschon Johnson, Bijan Robinson's backup. Do you think the Eagles will take a look at him? His receiving ability is why I kind of don't like. He only had 14 catches for 128 yards last year and 1 touchdown.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a lot of like receiving production. He also just hasn't a lot of production in general because he's stuck behind Bijan Robinson. So I guess you can kind of point towards that. I don't know. There's something about like his size profile and kind of what he brings that I don't know if the Eagles are going to like him, but I like him as a prospect. I think he's in my top 7 running backs.
He's one of the most physical guys, like one of the most physical, close or short yardage situation backs where you can envision him really plowing forward. I think that's kind of his role, really early on. He's one of those guys, like he's a power back. But like I just gotta. He's kind of just a guy. Honestly.
Yeah, he's sick. He's 6 foot 220. Like it's a big boy. Yeah. Tough to bring down. I'm having a hard time kind of like figuring out what he's going to look like in the NFL.
Tough to bring down, but also didn't miss too many like tackles and
Like his stats, it's just really hard to kind of get a profile on this guy because of just like the lack of production, the lack of attempts. Like he never had over 100 attempts in his career at college. Like he had only 545 yards last year rushing. So like you're projecting a lot with Roschon Johnson.
Yeah. I don't know I don't know what his role would be with the Eagles. I don't see a role for him with the team. I think Trey Sermon is the guy, is the same guy. Like and probably like he has familiarity with the Eagles system. I don't think Roschon will bring anything different to the team.
Okay, quickly before we go, do you think they take a running back in the first 3 rounds?
Yes.
I agree. Running back's the way to go. Oh, you squinted
60-40.
60-40, okay. So you're not like 100% bought in.
Nah. I think if 60-40. Yeah. I think they're going to be dipping it. If they don't get a cornerback in the first round, I think they're going to be dipping into cornerback and defensive line in the second and third. So I think it's got to be Jahymr Gibbs 30, and then I might have a hot like that would probably drop the percentages a lot down if that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. There is precedent for it, right? They took Miles Sanders in round 2. Kind of a similar situation to when they took Miles Sanders to now. Like the running back field's kind of empty. They have a role for the guy, right? So there is kind of historical precedent where you could see it happening.
And also, Eagles have a draft history of really going for running backs every second year. Mm-hmm. They didn't go for one last year, So if that the same trend kind of keeps up, they're going to be taking somebody in that 2nd to 5th round range.
I saw, I quote tweeted this. I didn't mean to like attack Jeff McLean for this tweet, but there was like Jeff McLean, I guess, was on 97 to 5 Fanatic. And he said the Eagles probably regretted drafting Miles Sanders. Like, I think they regretted to pick 5 picks after that one, not Miles Sanders. Like, I'm pretty sure they regret the JJ Arcega-Whiteside pick, not
yeah.
Sanders. I think the Sanders pick in general turned out fine, right? You got 4 years production out of him.
And you got a big contract afterwards.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know what they're like. That was a fine pick. Like, you shouldn't have taken any other running back at that point from that draft, and they needed a running back.
Quick, actually, one more thing. Have you watched a Keaton Mitchell out of East Carolina? No. He's fun. I like a Keaton Mitchell.
Running back as well?
Running back as well, yes. Out of, I think he's out of East Carolina. Yes, out of East Carolina. He's small guy, small. He doesn't really avoid contact, but I could see
East
he doesn't.
Carolina sounds like something that's terrible to dig up tape for.
Yeah, he's electric. Like, he's really fast. You're in a 4.3740. He's a really fast. Like, he pops off when you watch him on tape for how quick he is, but doesn't like contact, doesn't like running through tackles. So he's a guy I could see bringing in as a weapon in the later in the rounds in the draft. But I just want to bring his name up. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else you want to talk about? Anything else before we go?
No, let's wrap up.
Okay. So Thomas and I will be back next week. Probably only one more draft episode, maybe 2, but one more episode coming for sure. We're going to be diving into day 3 picks that we like, because you and I are day 3 guys. I like finding the late round gems. So we need to get those off our chest. We'll probably go through every position by position, go through who we think the Eagles could like. Maybe we'll squeeze in like a quick mock draft or something at the end. Who knows? But day 3 picks that we like are coming your way. Don't you worry. We'll have an episode before the draft for that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to like on any podcast platform that you listen to, Apple, Spotify, you name it. Hit that like button there. And we will talk to you later.